The Apparitions at Beauraing. 1932-33 Beauraing is a small town in the southern, French-speaking part of Belgium, and it was here that the Blessed Virgin appeared to a group of children. Between late November 1932 and January 1933, the 5 children came from the Voisin and Degimbra families, neither of which were particularly convinced Catholics. On the evening of the 29th of November 1932, Fernande Voisin, a 15-year-old girl, André Degimbra, aged 14, and her sister Gilbert, aged 9, were with Albert Voisin, aged 11. They made their way to the local convent school to meet Albert's sister, Gilbert Voisin, who was staying on until 6:30 to study. They entered the grounds and passed a small Lord grotto in front of the railway embankment that skirted the convent garden. While waiting for the front door bell to be answered, Albert looked towards the embankment over the grotto and cried out, "Look! The Blessed Virgin, dressed in white, is walking above the bridge." The girls looked and could see the luminous figure of a lady dressed in white walking in mid-air, her feet hidden by a little cloud. The sister who answered the door could see nothing, but as soon as Gilbert Voisin reached the door she too saw the figure. Over the next few evenings a pattern gradually developed in which the children would see Mary by a hawthorn tree near the grotto, but from outside the convent grounds. They knelt in the street and looked through the railings from the outside of the convent gate. The children would simultaneously drop to their knees on the cobblestone street with a force that made bystanders wince, and yet they suffered no injury. Moreover, people were astonished with the high-pitched quality of the children's voices as they prayed. They later told how they saw a beautiful lady wearing a white gown and holding her hands together as in prayer, with rays of light surrounding her head. On the 2nd of December, Albert asked her if she was the Immaculate Virgin, to which she smiled and nodded her head, and in answer to what she wanted she said simply, "Always be good." On Thursday the 8th of December, the feast of the Immaculate Conception, a crowd of about 15,000 assembled expecting a great miracle, but they only saw the children in ecstasy, impervious to lighted matches held underneath their hands, pinpricks, or lights shone in their eyes. Meanwhile, the local priest, Father Lambert, and the church authorities generally were taking a very prudent and circumspect attitude towards events at Beauraing, and refusing to get involved. The local bishop ordered his priests not to go to the site. The apparitions did not occur every night, although the children assembled and said the rosary. If Mary did appear, they would fall to their knees in unison. They were closely watched to ensure they could not talk to each other, and when the apparition was over were questioned separately. On the 28th of December the children said that she had said that my last apparition will take place soon. The next day Fernande saw the Blessed Virgin, with a heart of gold surrounded by rays, and this was also seen by 2 of the children on the 30th of December, as Mary repeated the phrase "Pray, pray very much," which was only heard by Fernande. On the last day of 1932 all the children saw Mary's golden heart. On the 1st of January, 1933, Mary spoke to Gilbert Voisin asking her to pray always, with the emphasis on always. The next day she told the children that on the 3rd of January, at what was to prove to be the final apparition, she would speak to each of them separately. A very large crowd, estimated at between 30 and 35,000 people, assembled that evening. as the children began their rosary. After 2 decades, 4 of them called out and fell to their knees, leaving Fernande, the oldest, in tears, because she could see nothing. Mary spoke to Gilbert Voisin, imparting to her what has been seen, as the main promise of Beauraing. "I will convert sinners, and then goodbye." To Henri she said, "I am the Mother of God, the Queen of Heaven. Pray always," before disappearing. Fernande remained kneeling while the other children went inside for questioning. When suddenly, she, and many in the crowd, heard a loud noise like thunder, and saw a ball of fire on the hawthorn tree. Mary appeared, and spoke to Fernande, asking her if she loved her son, and herself. When Fernande replied that she did, the response was, "Then sacrifice yourself for me." At this the Blessed Virgin glowed with extraordinary brilliance, and extended her arms so that the girl could see her golden heart, before saying goodbye, and disappearing. Although there were problems from some quarters, opposition to Beauraing had practically ceased by the time the bishop appointed a commission of inquiry in 1935, with the work continuing under his successor. In February 1943, Bishop Giroux authorized public devotions to Mary at Beauraing, but it was not until July 1949, following the Second World War, that the shrine was officially recognized and 2 important documents issued. The first dealt with 2 of the many cures that had taken place at Beauraing, declaring them to be miraculous. The second document was a letter to the clergy in which the bishop said, "We are able in all serenity and prudence to affirm that the Queen of Heaven appeared to the children of Beauraing during the winter of 1932-1933, especially to show us in her maternal heart the anxious appeal for prayer, and the promise of her powerful mediation for the conversion of sinners."